The moon hung low over the forest that framed the edges of Everton, Washington, a small town nestled between silver firs and the sound of wolves echoing across the hills. The rain had just stopped, leaving the world dripping and glistening under the cold sweep of October wind. Inside the sprawling but half-forgotten Halewood estate, light flickered behind the stained-glass windows, the only pulse of warmth in the shadow of the mountains. Mara Jensen had been working there for only 3 months. She was 19, quiet, and built of invisible strength, the kind that came from years of having no choice. Her father's debt to the Halewood family was buried somewhere in the estate's ledgers, but the obligation had landed her here, polishing marble floors and keeping her eyes low around the pack. They called them the Halewoods, but everyone in Everton knew what that really meant. The family ran the forest. Literally, they ruled the pack. The wolves that sometimes appeared at the edge of the woods, massive, intelligent, and eerily human in their movements, were the same people who attended the family's midnight gatherings. Rumor said they had been part of an ancient bloodline, older than the town itself. The locals whispered, but no one dared speak the truth aloud. Not if they valued their place in the quiet order of things. Mara didn't believe in old stories when she first arrived. But she'd heard the growls under her window at night, too deep to belong to any natural wolf. And she'd seen the youngest Halewood, the one they called Prince Leo, stumble back into the manor one dawn, barefoot, bleeding, and shaking like something feral still clung to his bones. Leo Halewood was not like the others. He was broad, a little soft around the edges, with hair that never quite behaved and eyes that were too kind for his lineage. The rest of the pack sneered behind his back, calling him the Chubby Prince. His older brother, Rowan, their alpha, had a jaw like a blade and the kind of cruel smirk that carved itself into the walls. Mara had learned to stay invisible. But that night, when Leo came into the kitchen trembling, blood streaked down his collar, she forgot all her rules. He stood there, drenched and lost, his breath uneven. "I'm fine," he said, voice breaking on the word. She dropped the mop and crossed to him. "You're not." He flinched when she touched his arm, but didn't pull away. The wound on his shoulder was deep, still oozing. His body radiated unnatural heat. Not fever, something else. Something alive, burning. "I wasn't supposed to be out there," he murmured. "Rowan told me I wasn't ready." She cleaned the wound carefully, the scent of iron mixing with rain. "You're not weak," she said softly, even though she didn't know why she believed that. His eyes lifted, searching hers. For the first time, she saw the wolf flicker behind the man. Not monstrous, but scared. Desperate. That was how it began. Every night after that, he found reasons to linger near the kitchen after midnight. Sometimes he'd bring her broken things to fix. A snapped button, a torn sleeve. Other times he just watched her work in silence. Slowly, their conversations began to stretch into hours. He told her about the weight of his family name, about Rowan's constant disappointment, about how the moon seemed to mock him every time he failed to shift properly. "I can feel it inside me," he said one night, eyes glowing faintly in the half-dark. "But it's like it's trapped behind glass. Everyone else in the pack, they become wolves like breathing. For me it's pain. It's wrong." Mara watched the reflection of firelight in his eyes. Maybe it's not wrong. Maybe it's just different. He laughed softly, the sound half-broken. "Different doesn't survive in my family." She knew what he meant. The Halewoods were perfection, pride, control. Leo was warmth in a kingdom of frost. A week later, Rowan announced a pack gathering. The air in the manor thickened with tension. Every member would shift under the moon, a test of strength, loyalty, and dominance. For Leo, it would be humiliation in front of them all. That night, long after the house fell quiet, Mara found him standing in the rain at the tree line, shirt clinging to his chest, trembling with fury. "I can't do this," he said, voice raw. "They'll watch me fail again." She stepped closer, the mud cold under her bare feet. "Then let me help you." He turned to her, startled. "You don't understand what you're saying. If anyone saw, then no one will see." She reached for his hand, steady and sure. "Show me what it feels like. When it starts." He hesitated, then exhaled, slow and shaking. "It feels like drowning." "Then breathe with me," she whispered. They stood under the dripping branches, her hand over his chest, feeling the storm of his heartbeat. She guided his breath, in and out, until the tremors subsided. When the pain came again, that surge of energy trying to tear through his skin, she didn't flinch. She stayed with him. The first growl came from deep in his throat. His spine arched, his eyes flared gold. For a moment she thought he might collapse, but then something broke free. A sound like cracking bones, then a blur of light and shadow. When the rain cleared, the forest was silent. Mara stood trembling, heart pounding. Before her, where Leo had been, a wolf crouched low to the ground, enormous, silver-gray, eyes bright with awe and terror. He took a step toward her, unsteady but magnificent. She could feel the wildness in him, but also the gentleness, the same warmth that had once filled the kitchen at midnight. "Leo," she breathed. The wolf bowed its head. It was not the power of dominance she saw in him, but grace, raw, untamed, beautiful. When he shifted back, gasping and naked in the cold rain, she turned away quickly, but he caught her wrist, his voice hoarse. "You stayed," he said, as if he couldn't quite believe it. "Of course I did." He looked at her like she was something sacred. "Then I'll never forget this night." From the edge of the trees, something moved. A flash of eyes, a silhouette too still to be an animal. Mara's breath caught. Leo noticed it too. His jaw tightened. "Rowan!" The figure vanished into the dark, but the damage was done. By dawn word had spread. The prince had shifted, not under Rowan's command, but in secret, with a human's help. And in the world of wolves, that was treason. The news spread through the Halewood estate like wildfire. By morning, every shadowed hallway whispered the same words. The chubby prince had shifted. But it wasn't victory that filled the air. It was danger. Mara felt it first, the tension that crept through the marble corridors. Servants spoke in hushed tones, eyes darting toward the grand staircase where Rowan's boots echoed like distant thunder. The Alpha's fury was a living thing, heavy enough to bend the air. By noon, the pack had gathered in the courtyard, a sea of dark coats and colder stares. The mountain mist hadn't lifted, coiling around the stone fountain like smoke. Mara watched from the servants' balcony, clutching the railing so tightly her knuckles whitened. Leo stood below, head bowed, rain darkening his hair. His shirt clung to him, torn at the shoulder from the night before. Rowan circled him slowly. "So, the boy finally found his beast," he said, voice low, sharp as broken glass. "Tell me, little brother, who taught you?" No one dared speak. Mara's heart slammed against her ribs. She could feel his eyes scanning the crowd, searching for any flicker of truth. Leo's voice was quiet, steady, but his jaw trembled. "I trained alone." Rowan smirked. "Alone?" He leaned in closer, his hand gripping Leo's chin. "You. The one who couldn't hold form for more than a heartbeat. Spare me." "I said I was alone." Rowan's gaze darkened. For a moment Mara thought he'd strike him, but instead he laughed. "Then let the pack decide." He turned toward the others, voice rising. "Tonight we run. If he's truly one of us, he'll lead beside me. If not..." His smile was pure cruelty. "The forest will take him." A low growl rippled through the wolves gathered around. Tradition in their world was law. The run was not a race. It was a hunt. When the courtyard emptied, Mara hurried back inside, panic clawing at her chest. She found Leo alone in the library, staring at the fire. The light made him look older, or maybe just more broken. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured. "I don't care." He turned, eyes weary but soft. "They'll punish you if they find out you were the one who helped me." She shook her head. "I'd rather be punished than watch them destroy you." For a long time he said nothing. Then he reached out, brushing a damp strand of hair from her face. His fingers were trembling. "You shouldn't care this much." "Too late," she whispered. He exhaled, a sound halfway between defeat and longing. "I don't know how to do this, Mara. Rowan wants blood. The pack wants a show. And I—" his voice cracked. "I just want to be something more than their disappointment. You already are." He smiled faintly, the kind that hurt more than it comforted. That night, the forest came alive. The pack assembled beneath the full moon, their bodies half shadow, half beast. The air thrummed with anticipation. Mara hid behind the old cedar fence, her heart in her throat. She could see Leo and Rowan at the front of the clearing, bare-chested, eyes glowing with the moon's reflection. "Run," Rowan commanded. And they did. The woods exploded with movement, paws pounding, branches breaking, snarls cutting through the wind. The moon followed them, a cold silver eye watching everything. Mara ran along the edge of the tree-line, trying to keep them in sight. She could hear Leo's breath, the rhythm of his run, steady, determined. For a moment she thought he was keeping up. But then came the sound, a snap, a growl, a cry that didn't sound animal. She stopped dead. The forest had gone quiet. "Leo!" she called, voice breaking. A shadow moved through the mist. Not one but several. Shapes circling something on the ground. She took a step forward before a rough hand yanked her back. "Careful, girl." It was Elias, the groundskeeper. His weathered face pale under the moonlight. "You can't go in there. They'll kill him," she whispered. Elias shook his head. "If he's meant to live, he will. If not, the pack will bury him as one of their own." Tears burned her eyes. "He doesn't deserve this." "No one ever does," Elias said softly. "But this is how alphas keep power. Fear and spectacle." When the pack returned before dawn, Leo was not among them. Rowan's chest was streaked with dirt and blood. His expression unreadable. "The forest decided," he said simply and walked inside. Mara waited until everyone was gone, then slipped into the woods. The morning fog hung low, heavy and still. Her shoes sank into mud. She followed the scent of pine and iron until she found him, collapsed near the river, naked and shaking. His body bruised but breathing. "Leo!" She dropped beside him, cradling his head in her lap. His eyes fluttered open, gold flickering faintly. "You shouldn't be here." "You say that every time," she whispered, brushing dirt from his cheek. He tried to laugh but winced. "I didn't die." "No, you didn't." He reached up weakly, his hand finding hers. "They think I'm gone. Rowan told them I ran north, that I couldn't take the shame." "Then let them think that," she said. He stared up at her, the morning light cutting through the fog like a promise. "You'd hide me." "I'd do more than that." Something unspoken passed between them, a spark neither dared name. He swallowed hard, voice barely a breath. "Then maybe this isn't the end." She helped him to his feet, wrapping her jacket around his shoulders. "It's not," she said. "It's the beginning." Behind them a wolf howled, long, low, mournful. Rowan's voice carried through the trees like a warning. Mara met Leo's gaze. "We can't stay here." "No," he agreed, glancing toward the mountains. "But if we leave, he'll come after us." "Let him," she said, her voice fierce for the first time. "Let him see what happens when you stop running." They disappeared into the mist together, hand in hand, as the first light of dawn broke through the branches. But in the shadow of the estate, Rowan watched from the balcony, a faint smile playing on his lips. He had let his brother go. Because sometimes, the hunt was sweeter when the prey believed it had escaped. The road north wound through miles of dripping evergreens and fog, the kind that swallowed headlights and blurred the edges of everything real. The rain had followed them from Everton, soft but relentless, as if the sky itself refused to let them forget what they were running from. For 3 nights, Mara and Leo hid in abandoned cabins, moving only at dusk. His wounds had begun to close, but the bruises along his ribs still darkened with each breath. She tended them by candlelight, her hands steady even when her heart wasn't. "Your fever's breaking," she said one evening, wringing out a cloth. He gave her a faint smile. "You sound like you've done this before." "I grew up taking care of things that shouldn't break," she said quietly. "People mostly." He watched her, the firelight dancing across his face. "You shouldn't have come with me." "Stop saying that," she whispered. "You'd be dead if I hadn't." He didn't argue. He just looked at her the way he always did now, like she was something dangerous and necessary at once. Outside, the forest shifted. Branches cracked. Distant howls echoed through the fog. Mara froze. "They've found us." Leo rose too fast, pain flaring in his side. "No, that's not them. Not yet." "How can you tell?" He hesitated. "Because I know Rowan's voice. When he comes, you feel it in your bones." The sound came again, closer this time. Not a howl but a cry. "Human." Mara grabbed the lantern, stepping toward the door before Leo could stop her. "Stay here." He followed anyway, limping slightly. They moved through the trees until they found her, a young woman, maybe 20, half-conscious, lying in the mud. Her clothes were torn, her skin slick with blood and rain. "Help her," Mara said, kneeling beside her. Leo's nostrils flared. He froze. "What is it?" His voice was barely a whisper. "She's one of us." Mara looked down again, and saw the faint shimmer of silver beneath the woman's skin, like moonlight trapped in her veins. They carried her back to the cabin. By the time they got her onto the cot, she was shivering violently. "Who did this to you?" Mara asked, but the woman only moaned. Leo brushed her hair back gently, and when she opened her eyes, something like recognition flashed there. "Leo," she rasped. "He knows." "Who knows?" Leo demanded. Her hand clutched his wrist with desperate strength. "Rowan. He knows what you are." The words cut through the air like lightning. Leo went pale. "What I am?" The woman's voice cracked, fading fast. "You're not his brother." The world tilted. The fire hissed. Mara stared at him, unable to breathe. What is she talking about? The woman's eyes rolled back, her body going limp. Leo's pulse thundered in his throat. "No," he whispered. "That's impossible." But deep down, something in him shifted, a memory surfacing like a wound reopening. His mother's voice, hushed arguments late at night, the way Rowan's father had always looked at him with a kind of distant pity rather than pride. Mara knelt beside him. "Leo." He stood abruptly, pacing, his hands shaking. "He's not my father. Rowan's father. He used to call me the accident. I thought it was just cruelty. But what if it wasn't?" Mara rose, her heart pounding. "You think your mother?" He turned to her, eyes wild. "If I'm not his blood, then I'm not Pack." The storm outside broke then, wind slamming against the windows. "You're still you," she said firmly. "That's what matters." "No," he said, shaking his head. "You don't understand. If Rowan knows I'm not Halewood blood, then everything changes. He can't just exile me. He'll have to erase me. It's how he keeps the bloodline pure." Lightning flared across his face, carving him into something both human and not. Mara stepped closer, cupping his jaw. "You don't have to be his blood to have worth. You've already proven who you are." He closed his eyes, leaning into her touch for a breath too long. "You shouldn't care this much about someone who isn't even what he says he is." "Then stop giving me reasons to," she whispered. Their lips almost met, almost before the window shattered. Glass rained down. A shadow burst through the doorway, tall and cold and familiar. "Rowan." He stepped inside without hurry, rain dripping from his coat, eyes burning silver in the dark. "So it's true," he said softly. "My little brother finally ran off to play house with a maid." Leo moved in front of Mara instinctively, bare feet on the wooden floor, muscles coiled. "You don't belong here." Rowan tilted his head. "Neither do you, Prince." He crossed the room in 3 strides, faster than any human should move. Leo blocked him, their bodies colliding with a sound like thunder. For a moment they were 2 storms meeting, claws, snarls, fury. Mara screamed his name, but the fight was too fast, too violent. Rowan's strength was monstrous. His hand closed around Leo's throat, slamming him against the wall. "Tell me," Rowan hissed. "Did she tell you? Or did the bastard woman who birthed you finally confess before she died?" Leo's face twisted with pain. "You knew." "Of course I knew," Rowan sneered. "Mother took in a wounded wolf from another pack. She pitied him. You were the result." Mara's heart cracked open. "Stop it," she cried. "He's your brother." Rowan turned to her slowly, eyes like knives. "He's nothing." Leo's fury ignited, sudden, primal, pure. With a snarl that didn't sound human, he shoved Rowan back, his body trembling as light flared beneath his skin. This wasn't the hesitant shift of before. This was wild, unstoppable. The cabin shook with the force of it. When the light faded, the wolf that stood before her was massive, larger than any she'd ever seen, silver and gold fused like fire and moonlight. Rowan took 1 step back. What are you?" Leo's growl was the answer. They collided again, teeth, claws, fury, until Rowan was thrown across the floor, crashing through the table. Blood streaked his cheek. He laughed, breathless. "You don't even know your own strength, do you?" Leo loomed over him, panting, every muscle trembling with restraint. "Kill me," Rowan whispered. "Finish it. Be the monster you were born to be." Mara stepped forward, voice breaking. "Don't. Leo, please." For a moment, the wolf turned toward her, and she saw the man behind the beast. The warmth, the mercy. He stepped back. Rowan spat blood, smiling. "You'll regret that." He vanished into the rain, his laughter echoing through the trees. Leo shifted back, collapsing to his knees, naked, shaking. Mara rushed to him, wrapping him in the blanket from the cot. He clung to her, breath ragged. He'll tell them what I am." She held his face in her hands. "Then we'll find the truth before he does." In the silence that followed, the fire crackled weakly, and beneath it, the faint sound of a heartbeat that wasn't either of theirs. Mara froze. "Leo," she whispered. "We're not alone." From the shadows beneath the floorboards came a soft whimper, like a cub calling for its mother. Leo's eyes widened. "No," he breathed. "It can't be." Mara lifted the loose floorboard, and there, wrapped in tattered fabric, was a newborn wolf pup, tiny and trembling, its fur the same strange blend of silver and gold as Leo's. She looked up at him, realization dawning slowly, terribly. "Leo," she whispered. "What have you done?" The wind howled through the broken cabin windows, carrying the scent of rain and fear. The small wolf pup whimpered again, fragile, breathing shallowly, for shimmering faintly in the dim firelight. Mara could barely move. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. Leo knelt beside her, staring at the creature like it was both a miracle and a curse. "It can't be," he murmured, voice shaking. "This isn't possible." Mara wrapped the trembling pup in her jacket. "Then explain it to me." He didn't answer. His eyes darted toward the floor, his hands trembling. "Leo," she pressed, her voice trembling now too. "What have you done?" He swallowed hard. "It wasn't me. I swear, Mara, it wasn't supposed to happen like this." "Then what is it?" He stared into the fire, his voice barely a whisper. "The night I first shifted, when you helped me, something went wrong. Felt 2 heartbeats inside me. One mine, one not. Thought it was the pain. I thought it was part of the change." Mara shook her head, disbelief mixing with terror. "You mean, this pup came from you?" "No," he hesitated. "From us." Her breath caught. "That's not possible." He looked at her, desperate. "Our kind, we're tied to energy, to blood, to connection. When you touched me that night, when you stayed with me through the shift, something bonded us." My wolf wasn't born alone. It was born with you. Mara backed away, her hands trembling. You're saying I... Yes, he said, standing. You carried part of it. You gave it form. She stared down at the tiny wolf pup, its fur glowing softly in rhythm with her own heartbeat. She felt dizzy, sick. No, Leo, I'm not. He reached for her. Mara, please. She pulled away, shaking her head. This isn't love, Leo. This is something else. Something wrong. Before he could answer, a loud crack echoed through the woods, a gunshot. Leo's body went rigid. They've found us. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the back door, but before they reached it, the front wall exploded inward. Splinters and smoke filled the air. Rowan stepped through the dust, flanked by 3 wolves in human form. Massive, armed, cold-eyed. Cute little family you've got here, he said, eyes flicking to the pup in Mara's arms. I didn't realize you'd started breeding abominations. Leo snarled. If you touch them, I swear. Rowan laughed. You'll what? Half-bloods don't make threats. They make graves. He nodded once, and the wolves lunged. Leo moved faster, shifting mid-stride, silver and gold light exploding from his body. The first attacker hit the wall with a sickening crack. The second went down under Leo's claws. But the third, Rowan himself, didn't fight fair. He moved like lightning, slamming Mara against the table, his hand tightening around her throat. Let her go, Leo roared. Rowan pressed the barrel of a silver-loaded pistol against her chest. Come any closer and I end her. Mara gasped, her pulse pounding under his grip. He's lying, Leo. Quiet, Rowan hissed. Leo froze, panting, his wolf form flickering at the edges. What do you want? Rowan's eyes gleamed. To finish what father started. To erase the stain on our name. He turned the gun toward the pup, who whimpered softly. And this, whatever it is, dies first. Mara's scream tore through the room. She twisted free, clutching the pup to her chest and stumbling toward the back door. A shot rang out. Leo lunged too late. The bullet hit. For a moment the world went silent. Mara fell to her knees, breath shallow, blood blooming across her shoulder. The pup slipped from her arms, landing on the floor, crying softly. Leo roared, a sound that didn't belong to any world. He slammed into Rowan, driving him through the wall and into the rain-soaked mud outside. The fight was pure chaos. Claws, teeth, fury, lightning flashing across the sky. Rowan fought like a god of cruelty. Leo fought like something born to protect. When it ended, both were on the ground, gasping, broken. Rowan coughed, blood spilling from his mouth. You think you can rule them, he rasped. You think they'll ever follow you. Leo's voice was low, almost tender. No, but they'll never follow you again. He drove his claws into the earth beside Rowan's head, not killing him but leaving him beaten, stripped of power. The pack that had followed Rowan stepped from the trees, eyes uncertain. None of them moved to help him. Leo rose slowly, his wolf form dissolving, human again, bloodied, trembling. If you ever come near her again, he said to Rowan, I'll forget mercy. He turned and ran back to the cabin, his body slick with rain and rage. Inside, Mara was still conscious, barely. The silver bullet had missed her heart, but the wound burned. She looked up as he fell beside her, pressing his hand over the bleeding. You're safe, he whispered. Her lips trembled. You shouldn't have come back. I'll always come back. She smiled faintly. You can't promise that. The pup crawled closer, curling beside her arm. Its tiny heartbeat pulsed in rhythm with hers. The glow between them shimmered once, bright as sunrise, then faded into calm. Leo felt something shift in the air, like the forest itself had gone quiet to listen. I can't lose you, he said. You won't, she whispered. But you'll have to choose. Choose. Her eyes were heavy, her voice fading. Between being a man and being what the world made you. He held her tighter as thunder rolled through the sky. I already chose. She closed her eyes. The wolves outside bowed their heads. When the storm broke, Leo carried her into the forest. The pup pressed against his chest. The pack followed in silence, eyes lowered. Rowan watched from the mud, broken and breathing shallowly. His voice a rasp in the wind. Let him run, he said. Let him believe he's free. But when the next moon rises, he smiled through the blood. I'll take back what was never his. And far away, beneath the trembling pines, Leo felt the weight of those words settle deep in his chest. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't just running from his brother. He was running from himself. The winter came early to the mountains. The pines bowed under frost, and the streams froze mid-song. The Halewood estate lay buried beneath snow and silence, its empire of fear cracked but not gone. 3 months had passed since the night of blood and thunder. Leo Halewood hadn't seen another human soul since. He lived now in a cabin higher in the Cascades, where the air was thin and the stars closer. The pup, the strange luminous creature that had been born from both his curse and his love, slept near the hearth each night, small no longer. Its fur shimmered like moonlight, and when it breathed, the snow outside seemed to pause. He named it Ash. Every morning, Leo would go down to the frozen creek, his breath clouding in the cold. He'd run until his lungs burned, training, learning to control the shift that had once torn him apart. Each time it came easier, no longer pain but a rhythm. But every night when the wind grew cruel, he'd hear her voice again. She had survived, barely. He'd carried her for miles, half dead, until Elias found them and took her to a safe house near the valley. He hadn't seen her since that dawn. Elias had told him she needed rest, that she wouldn't want him to see her broken. But Leo knew that wasn't true. She wasn't the one who feared what she'd become. He was. Because every time he shifted, every time the power flooded his blood, he could feel her inside it, her heartbeat woven into his own. Their bond hadn't faded. It had deepened, something older, stranger. And that meant Rowan would find her. He always went after what Leo couldn't protect. That night the moon rose full again. Ash stirred near the fire, ears twitching. Leo's pulse quickened. The bond in his chest, that invisible thread that tied him to Mara, pulled hard. Something was wrong. He didn't think. He just ran. Through snow and dark, barefoot and burning. He tore down the mountain, shifting mid-stride, silver-gold light flashing against the trees. The wolf inside him howled, not from rage but from instinct, from love. By the time he reached the valley, the world smelled of smoke. The safe house was burning. He burst through the flames, coughing, eyes stinging. The scent hit him before the sight did, blood but not hers. He found 2 wolves dead in the snow, their throats torn open. And then a voice, weak shaking. Leo! He turned. Mara leaned against the doorway, her skin pale, her shoulder bandaged. Her eyes, still fierce, still human, met his and something inside him broke. He shifted back without thought, the snow hissing against his skin. You're alive. She smiled faintly. You always sound surprised. He crossed to her, but stopped when he saw the mark on her neck, faint, glowing in the same hue as Ash's fur. What is that? He breathed. I think it's what we are now, she said softly. When I healed, Elias said something in me changed. Can feel what you feel, Leo. Pain. Your strength. Even your rage. He reached out, fingertips brushing her skin. I never wanted to curse you with this. You didn't, she whispered. You gave me a reason to live. Before he could speak again, the sound of footsteps echoed through the snow. Low. Purposeful. Rowan emerged from the tree-line. His once perfect face was scarred now. His left eye clouded white. He wore no coat despite the cold, and his breath rose in steady clouds. Brother, he said, voice calm as death. You've built yourself quite the fairy tale. Leo stepped forward, the wolf flickering beneath his skin. It ends tonight. Rowan nodded. Yes, it does. He moved like a shadow. Faster than before, too fast. The fight was brutal, primal. Claws and fists, teeth and fury. Snow turned crimson under their feet. Mara watched, heart hammering, the bond between them thrumming like fire. She could feel Leo weakening, Rowan drawing on something darker, older. "Stop!" she shouted, but neither did. Then, as Rowan pinned Leo to the ground, fangs bared, she felt it, a surge in her chest, bright and violent. Her vision blurred, her skin burning with gold light. Leo's eyes met hers. "Mara, no." But it was too late. The glow spread from her like wildfire, the same energy that had birthed Ash. The snow melted in a ring around her feet. She stepped forward, her voice low, trembling but powerful. "Let him go." Rowan laughed, until he realized he couldn't move. His body froze, veins glowing under his skin. The energy held him like invisible chains. Mara's voice broke. "You called him an abomination. But it wasn't his blood that made him different. It was his heart." Rowan strained against the force, snarling. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I do." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm choosing him." She pressed her hand to Leo's chest. The light flared, golden, blinding. Rowan screamed. The glow spread to him, and for a moment, his form flickered between man and beast, rage and grief, until finally it shattered. When the light died, only snow remained. No blood, no body, just silence. Leo gasped, collapsing to his knees. The air smelled of ozone and endings. Mara fell with him, her body weak, eyes unfocused. He caught her before she hit the ground. "Mara, stay with me." She smiled faintly. "You're free now." "No," he whispered, tears cutting through the soot on his face. "Not without you." Her fingers brushed his cheek. "Then find me in the next life." The light in her eyes dimmed. Leo pressed his forehead to hers, the bond between them flickering, fading but not gone. In the snow beside them, Ash howled long and low, the sound echoing across the valley. When dawn came, the fire was gone, the storm passed. The pack, what remained of them, emerged from the woods, cautious. They saw the man kneeling in the snow, the glowing wolf pup at his side, and they bowed. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The age of Rowan Halewood was over. Leo rose slowly, carrying her body in his arms. The sunlight broke through the clouds, bathing them in gold. He looked toward the horizon, the world he had never known, the one she had taught him to see. Ash trotted beside him, small prints in the snow. And as the wind swept across the mountain, a whisper followed him. Soft, familiar, like the voice of the woman he'd loved. "Run free, my prince." He smiled through the tears. And when he finally shifted, not out of pain or anger but peace, the wolf that leapt into the morning light was unlike any other. Silver and gold. Man and memory. The last Halewood reborn.